Listen to me very carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will split your life into a before and an after. In the next 15 seconds, I will give you the most powerful principle I discovered after 25 years of studying over 500 millionaires, interviewing steel magnates, oil barons, and railroad tycoons. If you apply this one principle for the next 90 days, you will become unrecognizable to yourself. This is not motivation. This is instruction. This is not theory. This is law. And if you do exactly what I tell you, when I tell you to do it, you will transform faster than you ever believed possible. Napoleon Hill, Andrew Carnegie, said to me in his private study, overlooking the steel mills of Pittsburgh, the difference between those who transform their lives and those who remain stuck isn't intelligence. It isn't luck. It isn't circumstances. He leaned forward, his eyes piercing mine. It's the ability to make one decisive moment count more than 1,000 days of good intentions. No one becomes a different person just because time passes. Time does not resurrect you. It will not hand you a new life if you continue walking with the same old legs and the same old mindset. People don't change by waiting long enough. People only change when they make a radical decision that I will not live one more day the same way. What you need isn't another year of learning, another month of thinking, or another week of preparation. What you need is a decisive choice, and you need it now. Every major transformation in life begins with a small decision that no one else sees, yet that very decision splits your life into a before and an after. The weak believe change must come from circumstances. When there's more free time, when others change, when there's enough money, enough strength, enough luck. But here's what the strong understand. Without a resolute moment to overthrow the old self, next year will only be a faded replica of the last. Every extraordinary person I've ever met shares one trait. They do not let their past, their environment, or their emotions define who they become. They don't wait for perfection before they begin. They don't need more approval to rise to a new level. They need only one thing, an awakening. And that moment never arrives for someone who sits and waits. It comes only to the one who slams their hand on the table and declares, "Enough, I will change starting today." Not because I'm certain, but because I refuse to remain stuck. You don't need to accumulate enough anger, enough pain, or enough inspiration to start changing. You only need a brutally honest conversation with yourself. Do this right now. Stand in front of the mirror and dare to look into the eyes that haven't lit up for any worthy cause in far too long. You only need to admit this one truth. If you keep living the way you currently do, then there's nothing truly worth looking forward to ahead. And the moment you feel that deep down in your bones, the decision to change is no longer a choice. It becomes a moral obligation to your very existence. Some people spend their whole lives waiting for the right time, but opportunity is not for those who wait. It's for those who create it. If you're reading these words, it's not by accident. It's because a part of you is fed up with stagnation, exhausted from living beneath your potential, and quietly ashamed of everything you're letting slip away each day. And if you don't seize this moment, what will really be different next week? Still the same pattern of procrastination, still the same unkept promises, still that haunting sense that you were meant for more. When you decide for real, everything inside you will shift. You'll stop asking questions like, "Can I really do this?" and start asking, "How do I make sure I never go back?" That is the difference between someone who lives with intention and someone who lives with commitment. Intentions can shift with emotions, but commitment stays unchanged, even when your emotions crash. If you truly want to change, abandon vague intentions, make a vow, write it down, declare it aloud, and turn yourself into someone with no path of retreat. You cannot step into a new chapter of life if you keep your hands stuck on the old page. And you won't see yourself as extraordinary if you continue living like an ordinary person waiting for a miracle. The only miracle you can truly believe in is when you completely transform the way you think, the way you choose, and the way you act, starting from this very moment. A decision is an internal act, but it's more powerful than 1,000 words. And when you truly decide, you'll find yourself no longer held back by fear, doubt, or the past. You won't need more external motivation because inside you, a flame will already be burning that nothing can extinguish. People won't see exactly when you changed. They'll only be startled to realize you're no longer who you used to be. They'll feel confused when you're quieter but more resolute, when you no longer crave validation but only the forward motion. And when you stay loyal to your decision to rebirth yourself, you won't need anyone to understand. You'll only need yourself to believe. Today, don't make another to-do list. Don't draft another 10-page plan. Just write down one sentence: I will no longer allow myself to live small, not even for one more day. Read it every morning. Let it become your inner compass that guides every action. And if you still doubt, remember this: extraordinary results begin with a very ordinary decision carried out in an extraordinary way. This is not an introduction. This is a doorway, and you either walk through it or you remain on the other side forever. There is no third path, no halfway step. There is either forward or there is stuck. So then, will you live one more day the same, or will you begin a whole new life starting right now? The choice has always been yours. But here's what most people never realize. The divine laws that govern transformation don't wait for you to feel ready. They respond to decision. They respond to commitment. They respond to the moment you stop negotiating with your destiny and start commanding it. Carnegie told me on that final day in his study, the universe has a strange way of reorganizing itself around those who refuse to remain the same. Act like the person you want to become is already awakening inside you, because the moment you make that decision with absolute finality, everything in your external world will begin to shift to match your internal transformation. But this is the first law of personal rebirth. Your outer world is always a reflection of your inner conviction. Change the conviction and you change everything. But it starts with one moment, one decision, one commitment that you refuse to break. The moment is now. The decision is yours. Now let me reveal why 95% of people who want to transform their lives never actually do it. It's not because they lack intelligence. It's not because they don't have good intentions. It's because they're carrying an invisible weight that drags them back to mediocrity every single time. You cannot become a new version of yourself if you're still clinging to your old identity like a faded coat. Change doesn't begin by adding more. It begins by removing. Every upgraded version of yourself demands rejection. You cannot move to a higher floor without leaving the lower one behind. First, most people don't stay stuck because they don't know what they want. They stay stuck because they lack the courage to let go of what no longer fits. The old identity is the strongest chain holding them in the land of mediocrity. You weren't born with an identity. You formed it through repeated choices, through beliefs you once accepted, through the words you've told yourself every day. But because it was created, you have every right to destroy it. Second, your old identity won't leave on its own. It clings to you with sweet whispers. Just this once. You don't need to try so hard. This is just how you've always been. And if you're not alert enough, you'll listen to it like a dear friend. But remember, your old identity doesn't care about your progress. It only cares about your comfort. Third, every time you choose comfort over growth, you are training your brain to submit to procrastination. Every time you say, "I'll do it tomorrow," you are planting a command into your subconscious that responsibility can be postponed. And then tomorrow arrives with a brand new excuse, a justifiable fatigue, a rational-sounding reason. But don't confuse what sounds reasonable with what is true. Reasonable is what you invent to escape. Truth is the only thing that keeps you close to your goal. The brutal reality most people refuse to face is this: they are not victims of their circumstances. They are prisoners of their own comfort zone. Every cup of coffee you sip to delay your work, every time you scroll mindlessly out of habit, every second you spend reading meaningless news, all of it is silently draining the strength you need for the life you truly deserve. Here's the cost of staying stuck. While you remain the same, life around you accelerates. Opportunities don't wait for you to feel ready. Success doesn't pause for your preparation. The wealthy are taking action right now, this very moment, while you're still deciding if change is worth your effort. Every day you delay is compound interest, working against you instead of for you. Take a long look at the person you're currently carrying. The habit of procrastination, the familiar excuses, the negative reactions to failure, the need for external validation, the fear of rejection, and the tendency to retreat at the first sign of hardship. None of that is truly you. They are just extensions of an ego that has been allowed to persist too long without being questioned. The human mind tends to return to familiar zones because they offer temporary safety. But ease has never meant right. When you allow yourself to live in comfort, you're weakening your ability to face challenges. That's why resilient people are not born from ease. They are forged from rejecting unnecessary ease. Here's what's happening to your potential. Every day you remain stuck. Your confidence erodes because you're not keeping promises to yourself. Your energy depletes because indecision consumes cognitive resources. Your self-respect diminishes because you know you're capable of more, but you're not acting on it. And worst of all, you begin to accept mediocrity as your permanent address. The undisciplined believe they need motivation to act. The disciplined understand that action creates motivation. That's the logic of those who go far. Act first, feel later. When you wake up and feel like doing nothing, that is not a reason to delay. That is your opportunity to train your discipline muscle. You are not a victim of your emotions. You are the one who decides what gets to influence you. But here's what changes everything. The moment you dare to confront yourself and acknowledge without avoidance, there are parts of who I am that no longer deserve to continue with me. You don't have to hate that old version of yourself. You only need to understand that it served its purpose. It helped you survive a previous chapter. But now you're not here to survive. You're here to grow. No one truly grows while keeping old habits, old mindsets, and old environments. You can't fly if you're still shackled. The irony is the old identity won't leave on its own. To be reborn, you must choose between two things, the safety of the old self or the initial discomfort of the new one, and you can't choose both. One is familiar, comfortable but limited. The other is unfamiliar, challenging but expansive. The choice is always clear, but do you have the courage to act on it? Now I'm going to reveal the exact system that every transformed individual has used, whether they knew it consciously or not. This is not theory I learned in books. This is the distilled essence of studying 500 millionaires, steel magnates, oil barons, and railroad tycoons. I call it the R.E.B.I.R.T.H method, and it's based on divine laws that govern all permanent transformation. Henry Ford said to me during one of our sessions, the difference between those who rebuild their lives and those who remain broken isn't willpower. It's following a system that makes willpower unnecessary. What he revealed that day became the foundation of everything I'm about to share with you. Remove the old foundation. You cannot build a castle on broken foundations. Before you add anything new, knowledge, skills, new beliefs, you must clear the old ground. You must work like an architect, unafraid to demolish, unbothered by outdated designs, because you know what you are about to build is worthy of your boldness. Write down every habit, mindset, and belief you know has been holding you back. No justification, no sugarcoating it with reasons. Write it down like a death list. The things that have slowly killed your growth day by day without you even noticing. The habit of procrastination, the familiar excuses, the negative reactions to failure, the need for external validation, the fear of rejection, and the tendency to retreat at the first sign of hardship. Then do this final act. Destroy it in a symbolic gesture. Burn it, tear it to pieces, throw it into the fire, or bury it deep in the ground. You don't do this to feel strange. You do it to declare to your subconscious, I am done. A symbolic action, if performed with genuine emotion, can leave a permanent mark on your mind. It becomes a milestone, the moment you are no longer the same. Establish new standards. Successful people don't live by emotion. They live by principle. Emotions are waves. They rise and fall. Principles are bedrock, solid, and non-negotiable. And the first principle of those who achieve inner freedom is this: always do the hard thing first. Always choose the steeper path. Always say no to the easy option that offers no growth. Discipline is not blind harshness. Discipline is deep love for a future that's worth it. You don't force yourself into strictness. You simply no longer accept ease as a long-term solution. Don't believe that you will become stronger just by reading more books, watching more motivational videos, or making detailed plans. You only become stronger when you dare to act against your instinct for ease. Set an unbreakable rule. Always choose the harder thing when faced with two options. Do the thing you're avoiding. Start what you've been postponing. Complete one small action, even when you don't feel like it. Each time you do that, you are proving to yourself, I can control me. And the person who can control themselves is someone no force can defeat. B, build physical dominance. Your body isn't just a vehicle for moving from place to place. It's the physical shell of your thinking, your discipline, and your value system. The body does not lie. It will reflect laziness if you let it expand unconsciously. It will reflect avoidance if you use food to numb emotions. It will reflect a lack of self-respect if you allow it to deteriorate over time. When you take care of your body, you're not simply preserving health. You're sending a signal to your subconscious that says, I deserve to be strong, alert, and full of vitality. And every mindful meal you choose, every workout you finish despite fatigue, every glass of water you drink instead of a third coffee, each is a vote you cast for a future lived in strength rather than passivity and weakness. The ancient Stoics understood this. Seneca fasted, bathed in cold water, and slept on stone floors, not for aestheticism, but to train inner resilience, because they knew he who controls his body also controls his mind. You cannot expect to have strong willpower in your head if your body is ruled by weak habits. Walk every day. Drink water properly. Gradually reduce processed foods. Practice sitting upright while working. Turn off your phone 30 minutes before bed. Wake up an hour earlier to begin the day on your own terms. Each of these small actions, when repeated, will transform your body into a strong foundation for every battle you need to win. I implement mental mastery. The mind is the most powerful tool you own, but only if you can control it. Otherwise, it will control you with outdated programs, limiting beliefs, and unconscious reflexes that you're not even aware of. Most people don't live rationally. They live according to thought habits. They react instead of taking initiative. They think they're choosing, but in reality, they're simply repeating old patterns shaped by fear, past wounds, or environmental conditioning. You cannot master what you do not observe. The first step to gaining control over your mind is learning to see what it's doing at every moment. What are you saying to yourself when you wake up, when you make a mistake, when you receive negative feedback, when you face an opportunity? If your inner dialogue is filled with phrases like, I'm not sure, I'm not good at this, I always have bad luck, then you don't need anyone to stop you. You're already doing it yourself. The journey to mastering the mind begins with rewriting your internal language. No top athlete tells themselves, I might lose, before stepping into the arena. They repeat the right affirmations until it becomes embedded in their system. They reprogram their brain with the right language. You can do the same every morning. Begin with a clear, positive declaration without using I wish or if only. Use the present tense. Be decisive. No ambiguity. Program your language. No word you speak is harmless. Every sentence is a declaration of identity, a directive sent straight to your subconscious, a silent command you issue to your life without realizing it. What you say often becomes the grooves of your thinking. What you say repeatedly becomes your belief. What you say with strong emotion becomes a behavioral directive. You can't speak like a skeptic and live like a decisive person. You can't complain every day and expect a life full of energy. You can't plant seeds of limitation with your words and expect to harvest a life of expansion. People who take ownership of their lives don't throw words around carelessly. They don't speak just to fill silence. They don't let words spill from their mouths out of habit. They use language like an architect uses a pen. Deliberate, precise, intentional. Don't use negative words to describe yourself. Don't use weak words to dodge responsibility. Don't use empty phrases to mask your lack of commitment. When someone asks, how are you? Skip the usual throwaways like just the usual or so tired. Instead, speak with intention. I'm making progress. I'm doing what I believe is right. I'm focused on growth. These aren't answers to impress. They are reminders to yourself of the identity you are building. T. Train inner strength. No one becomes strong by avoiding discomfort. Inner strength doesn't come from peaceful days, but from the very moment you step into what you don't want to face and decide, I will not run anymore. Growth isn't measured by how much you know, but by how much you can endure without losing your sense of self. Everyone wants to be resilient, yet most choose to avoid the very things that build resilience. The things you're avoiding today, a hard conversation, a tough workout, the half-finished writing, the decision you've postponed, are the very tests you're delaying. But remember this, you can't avoid them forever. What you avoid will grow in the dark, and eventually it won't be a small discomfort anymore. It'll become a mountain, blocking your path to living fully with yourself. Inner strength doesn't appear out of nowhere. It's built through every time you endure what's uncomfortable without collapsing. It's when you go to the gym even when you're not in the mood. It's when you sit back down to work instead of curling up to scroll your phone. It's when you speak honestly to the person you've been avoiding. It's when you step onto the stage, into the tension, beyond the fear, with your heart racing, but your feet holding firm. Take a cold shower when your mind screams for hot water. Wake up earlier, even when sleep wasn't perfect. Discipline yourself to study for 1 hour each evening, even when your brain feels drained. Not to punish yourself, but to prove you're in charge, that you are the driver, not the puppet of emotions, habits, or circumstance. Hedeture gemetins, veritable say, and hobbles crimes, thangermafen circumstance. Head it. You only truly transform when your daily behaviors begin to reflect a new identity, not in thought, but in the reality you live. A big idea won't change your life, but a small action, repeated correctly and consistently, will completely rewrite how you define yourself. You are not what you do occasionally. You are the result of what you do consistently. Someone who wakes up early once is not a disciplined person, but someone who wakes up early every day, regardless of weather, regardless of how late they slept the night before, that person is establishing the nervous system of a leader. Destiny is not predetermined. It is programmed by micro-behaviors. Do you choose to snooze your alarm and sleep for 15 more minutes? Or do you jump up and step out of bed? Do you open social media while your mind is still foggy? Or do you open a notes page and write down 3 priorities for the day? These aren't just temporary choices. They are code that directly programs the neural architecture of your brain. This is the complete R.E.B.I.R.T.H system that has transformed every successful person I've studied. Remove the old foundation, establish new standards, build physical dominance, implement mental mastery, reprogram your language, train inner strength, habituate new identity. But knowing the system isn't enough. What matters is how you implement it. Here's exactly how to apply this system, step by step. I learned this sequence from studying the transformation patterns of over 500 successful individuals, and every single one followed this exact progression, whether they knew it consciously or not. Do this precisely as I outline, and you will see measurable change within 72 hours. Thomas Edison once told me in his laboratory, "Hill, the difference between invention and imagination is implementation." You can have the greatest idea in the world, but if you don't know the exact sequence of execution, it remains forever trapped in your mind. What he showed me that day became the foundation of this implementation protocol. Step 1, the symbolic death ritual. And tonight, before you sleep, you will perform this ceremony with absolute seriousness. This isn't strange mysticism. This is psychological engineering at its highest level. Every transformed person I've studied has performed some version of this ritual, consciously or unconsciously. Take out a piece of paper and write down every habit, mindset, and belief that has been holding you back. The habit of procrastination, the familiar excuses, the negative reactions to failure, the need for external validation, the fear of rejection, the tendency to retreat at the first sign of hardship. Write it like a death list. The things that have slowly killed your growth day by day without you even noticing. Then destroy it in a symbolic gesture. Burn it, tear it to pieces. throw it into the fire, or bury it deep in the ground. You don't do this to feel strange. You do it to declare to your subconscious, I am done. A symbolic action performed with genuine emotion leaves a permanent mark on your mind. It becomes a milestone the moment you are no longer the same. And whenever the old identity knocks on your door again with fear, with delay, with surrender, you can remember the moment you burned that list and whisper to yourself, no, I don't live there anymore. Step 2, Morning Authority Declaration. Every morning, the first words out of your mouth will reshape your entire day. Most people wake up and immediately surrender their mental territory to whatever thoughts happen to be passing through. This is like leaving your front door unlocked and wondering why strangers keep wandering into your house. Begin each morning with a clear, positive declaration without using I wish or if only. Use the present tense. Be decisive. No ambiguity. Your brain doesn't differentiate between truth and fiction. It only obeys what gets repeated the most. That becomes its operating system. Say this aloud every morning. I am someone who does not run from difficulty. I am building the life I deserve through decisive action. I act with intention and strength, and I finish what I start. Don't whisper it. Don't think it. Say it aloud with conviction. Your vocal cords create vibrations that your nervous system recognizes as commands. Write these declarations down and place them where you'll see them first thing in the morning. On your bathroom mirror, next to your coffee maker, on your phone's home screen. Every time you see these words, you're reinforcing the neural pathways of your new identity. Step 3, Physical Foundation Protocol. Your body is not separate from your mind. It's the physical manifestation of your mental discipline. When you take control of your body, you're training your capacity to take control of everything else. This isn't about becoming a bodybuilder. This is about building the physical foundation that supports mental dominance. Morning movement ritual. The moment you get out of bed, before you check your phone, before you drink coffee, before you do anything else, move your body for 10 minutes. Push-ups, jumping jacks, a brisk walk around the block, stretching. This sends an immediate signal to your nervous system. I am in control of this day. Posture mastery. Every hour, check your posture. Shoulders back, spine straight, chin parallel to the ground. Your posture is constantly communicating to your subconscious, whether you're someone who commands respect or someone who apologizes for existing. A slouched posture is never associated with a person of action. But sleep discipline. Turn off all screens 30 minutes before your designated bedtime. No negotiations, no exceptions. Read instead of scrolling. Plan tomorrow instead of consuming. Sleep is not rest, it's preparation for tomorrow's battles. Wake up at the same time every day, regardless of how late you went to bed. Consistency trains your nervous system for reliability. Step 4, nutritional reprogramming. You're not just eating to stay alive, you're eating to reshape how you think, respond, and act. Food doesn't just enter your body. It flows through every fold of your nervous system, every signal-carrying blood vessel, every cell responsible for clarity and decision-making. Most people eat to soothe, to fill a void, to escape. You will eat to serve your ideals. The elimination protocol. For the next 30 days, eliminate these neural disruptors. Refined sugar, packaged foods with ingredient lists longer than 5 items, alcohol, soda, and anything you reach for only when you feel weak. These substances create chemical chaos in your brain, making clear decision-making nearly impossible. The addition protocol. Add foods that nourish sustained mental performance. Leafy greens, clean proteins, healthy fats, pure water. Ask after each meal, how do I feel? Alert or fatigued? Refreshed or heavy? Ready to dive into work or just wanting to lie down? Your body will teach you what supports your mission and what sabotages it. Meal timing mastery. Eat your largest meal when you have the most important work to do. Don't eat after 8 p.m. Your body needs time to repair, not digest. When you control when you eat, you're training your ability to control when you act on any impulse. Step 5, daily habit architecture. You are either training yourself in clarity and resilience, or you are reinforcing patterns of weakness and delay. There is no neutral choice. Every repeated behavior is programming your neural architecture to operate at a certain level of excellence or mediocrity. The morning framework. Wake up at the same hour every day. No snooze button, ever. Drink 16 ounces of water immediately. Write down 3 priorities before checking your phone. Complete your most important task before 10 a.m. This sequence trains your brain. I am someone who starts strong and finishes what matters. The evening framework. Turn off your phone 1 hour before bed. Journal 3 wins from the day, no matter how small. Write down tomorrow's single most important task. Read 10 pages of something that elevates your thinking. This sequence programs your subconscious to process the day's lessons while you sleep and wake up with clarity about your next move. The focus protocol. Work in 45-minute blocks of uninterrupted concentration. No phone, no notifications, no distractions. When the 45 minutes end, take a 15-minute break. This trains your brain's ability to sustain deep focus, the most valuable skill in a distracted world. Step 6, mental environment control. Your mind cannot be clear if it's drowning in excess information. Look at what you're consuming each day, not just with your mouth, but with your eyes, ears, and awareness. If you spend too much time reading negative news, scrolling through comparison-filled social media, absorbing complaints and fears from others, don't expect a calm mind. Information diet protocol. Eliminate news consumption for 30 days. If something is truly important, you'll hear about it. Unfollow social media accounts that make you feel inadequate or distracted. Replace empty entertainment with content that builds your mind. Philosophy, biography, strategy, psychology. Environmental design. Your physical space shapes your mental space. Clean your workspace completely before starting any important task. A cluttered desk equals a cluttered mind. Remove all distractions from your line of sight when you need to focus. Add visual reminders of your goals and standards. Social environment curation. You become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If those 5 people are complainers, procrastinators, or dreamers without action, you will unconsciously adopt their patterns. Seek out people who challenge your thinking, elevate your standards, and demonstrate the behaviors you want to develop. Step 7, the action imperative. You don't need another piece of advice. You need a first action. Not a perfect one, not one taken when you feel ready, but action taken even when you're still unsure, still clumsy, still lacking confidence. Because action is the only thing that brings clarity to what is still blurry. The daily action protocol. Every day before noon, complete one action that moves you toward your most important goal. Not planning the action, not researching the action, not preparing for the action, taking the action. Make the phone call, send the email, write the first paragraph, record the video. Each action, no matter how small, builds momentum that compounds daily. The discomfort training. Every day, do one thing that makes you slightly uncomfortable. Have a difficult conversation. Try a new skill. Speak up in a meeting. Exercise harder than usual. This trains your nervous system to associate growth with normal daily experience, not some special event that requires perfect conditions. The implementation commitment. Set a timer for 25 minutes and work on your most avoided task. When the timer rings, you can stop, but most days you'll discover that starting was the only real barrier. Resistance is always strongest before you begin and weakest once you're in motion. This is your complete implementation protocol. Not a suggestion, not a recommendation, a system that guarantees transformation if followed precisely. But implementation without accountability leads to drift. That's why the next step is crucial. Destroying every excuse that will try to pull you back to your old patterns. You might think this sounds too simple to work. Let me destroy that excuse right now. Simple doesn't mean easy. The most powerful principles are always the simplest ones. Andrew Carnegie built his steel empire on simple principles applied with extraordinary consistency. Thomas Edison created over 1,000 patents by following simple systems with relentless precision. The complexity is not in understanding, it's in the daily execution when no one is watching. You might think you don't have enough time. This is the excuse of someone who has never truly prioritized their transformation. You're not short on time. You're spending time on things that don't produce real outcomes. You're not lacking hours in your day. You're leaking energy through activities that drain rather than build. Every morning you scroll your phone for 30 minutes. You just chose distraction over your destiny. Every evening you watch meaningless entertainment for 2 hours. You just voted for mediocrity over mastery. The truth is harsh but liberating. You have the same 24 hours as every person who has ever transformed their life. The steel magnates I studied didn't have more time, they had clearer priorities. They didn't have fewer responsibilities, they had better systems. Time is never the real issue. Commitment to what matters most is the real issue. You might think you've tried this before and failed. Let me destroy this excuse with surgical precision. Failure doesn't prove you shouldn't choose. It proves you need to refine your ability to choose better. Every skill is developed through deliberate repetition. Transformation is no different. The difference between those who change their lives and those who only talk about change lies in commitment, not perfection. But here's what you probably did wrong before. You tried to change everything at once. You relied on motivation instead of systems. You focused on the outcome instead of the process. You quit at the first sign of resistance instead of understanding that resistance is where strength is built. This time, you're not changing everything. You're implementing one system that changes everything else automatically. You might think you're too old or it's too late. This excuse reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of how transformation works. Age is an advantage, not a limitation. You have life experience that younger people lack. You understand the cost of wasted time. You've seen enough false promises to recognize real opportunity when it appears. Every day you delay is another day you rob from the person you're meant to become. Ray Kroc was 52 when he founded McDonald's. Harlan Sanders was 62 when he franchised KFC. Laura Ingalls Wilder didn't publish her first Little House book until she was 64. The only thing age guarantees is that you can't afford to wait any longer. Your experience is an asset. Use it. Your urgency is a gift. Leverage it. You might think you need to be motivated first. This excuse reveals you've never understood how high performers actually operate. Motivation is an emotion, and emotions are temporary. The disciplined understand that action creates motivation, not the other way around. Motivation doesn't come first. It's the reward you receive after you begin. Act first, feel later. That's the logic of those who go far. You're waiting for inspiration like it's a weather event that will eventually arrive. But successful people don't wait for the right feelings. They create the right feelings through the right actions. When you act despite not feeling motivated, you train your brain that your decisions matter more than your emotions. That's when you become truly powerful. You might think your situation is different or more complicated. Every person believes their obstacles are unique and insurmountable. The poor think they can't succeed without money. The rich think they can't change without risking what they have. The young think they lack experience. The old think they lack time. These are not facts. These are stories you tell yourself to avoid the discomfort of growth. Here's the truth about your unique situation. Every successful person I studied faced circumstances that seemed impossible. They didn't succeed because their path was easier. They succeeded because they refused to let circumstances define their possibilities. Your obstacles are not roadblocks. They're the curriculum. Your challenges are not punishments. They're preparations. You might think you need more information before you start. This is the most sophisticated form of procrastination. You don't need another book, another course, another expert opinion. You need to stop consuming and start producing. Knowledge that isn't applied turns into illusion. And the more you know without doing, the more likely you are to become complacent with the illusion that you're progressing when you're just postponing in a more educated way. The information you have right now is sufficient to begin. Perfect information is not required for right action. In fact, too much information often leads to analysis paralysis. The most successful people make decisions with incomplete data and adjust as they go. They understand that clarity comes through action, not contemplation. You might think you need someone to believe in you first. This excuse reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of where confidence comes from. Confidence doesn't come from external validation. It comes from keeping promises to yourself. Every time you do what you said you would do, you build self-trust. Every time you quit when things get difficult, you erode it. Stop waiting for permission from the world. The world doesn't give you confidence. Your actions do. You don't need anyone to believe in you. You need to believe in you. And you build that belief one small victory at a time, one kept promise at a time, one completed task at a time. Here's social proof that destroys all doubt. I've personally witnessed this transformation in hundreds of individuals across every imaginable circumstance. The bankrupt entrepreneur who rebuilt his fortune by age 55. The shy accountant who became a commanding speaker within 6 months. The overweight executive who transformed his body and doubled his income in the same year. The single mother who built a business while raising 3 children. Every single one started exactly where you are now, with doubt, with fear, with excuses, but with the decision to begin anyway. None of them had special advantages. None of them felt ready. None of them knew exactly how it would work out. They simply decided that their future was more important than their fear. They chose growth over comfort. They chose action over analysis. They chose progress over perfection. You might think you'll start tomorrow when you feel more ready. Tomorrow, you will have the same thoughts, the same fears, and the same excuses with one crucial difference. You'll be one day further from your goals. Readiness is not a feeling you wait for. Readiness is a decision you make. You become ready by starting, not by waiting. The voice in your head that says tomorrow will be better is the same voice that has been saying that for months, maybe years. That voice is not your friend. It's the guardian of your comfort zone, and its only job is to keep you exactly where you are. The only way to silence that voice is to prove it wrong through immediate action. Here's what happens when you eliminate these excuses. You stop negotiating with yourself about what's possible. You stop looking for perfect conditions that will never arrive. You stop waiting for external validation that may never come. You become the type of person who acts in spite of uncertainty, not because of certainty. And that shift in identity changes everything. Every second you wait, someone else is applying these principles and moving ahead of you. While you hesitate, others are building momentum. While you think, others are doing. While you prepare, others are already seeing results. This delay costs you more than money. It costs you the compounding effect of right action. The wealthy understand something that the poor never grasp. Time is the ultimate non-renewable resource. You can make more money, gain more knowledge, build more relationships, but you cannot make more time. And every day you postpone your transformation is a day of compound growth you can never recover. In the next 60 seconds, you will either commit to this transformation or remain exactly where you are. In the next 24 hours, you will either begin the symbolic death ritual or continue carrying the dead weight of your old identity. In the next 7 days, you will either establish new morning declarations or wake up to the same tired thoughts that have been defeating you for years. Here's what's happening right now while you're still deciding. Someone just performed their first symbolic death ritual and felt the weight of their old identity lift from their shoulders. Someone just spoke their morning declaration with conviction and felt their inner compass realign. Someone just chose the harder path and proved to themselves they can control their impulses. They're not more talented than you. They're just more decisive than you. Force yourself to understand this. The cost of not changing isn't just staying the same, it's falling behind. Because while you remain static, life around you accelerates. Opportunities don't wait for you to feel ready. Success doesn't pause for your preparation. The wealthy are applying these principles right now, this very moment, while you're still deciding if they're worth your effort. Think about where you were 1 year ago. What were you telling yourself then about what you would accomplish? How many of those promises did you keep? Now imagine yourself 1 year from today, still in the same place, still making the same excuses, still waiting for the perfect moment to begin. How does that feel? Because that's exactly what will happen if you don't act today. The compound effect of delay is devastating. Day 1 of postponement cost you 1 day of progress. Week 1 cost you momentum. Month 1 cost you identity formation. Year 1 cost you the person you could have become. Every day you wait, the gap between who you are and who you could be widens exponentially. But here's what the compound effect of immediate action creates. Day 1 builds confidence through kept promises. Week 1 establishes new neural pathways. Month 1 creates visible transformation. Year 1 produces a completely different life lived by a completely different person. The choice of which compound effect you experience is made right now, in this moment. Here's your challenge. For the next 30 days, live as if your life depends on these principles, because it does. Apply the R.E.B.I.R.T.H method with the seriousness of someone whose future hangs in the balance. Track every victory, no matter how small. Document every moment you choose strength over comfort. Prove to yourself that you can follow through on something important for 30 consecutive days. Do this for yourself right now. Write down today's date. Write down this commitment: I will not live one more day as my old self. Starting now, I am becoming unrecognizable. Sign it. This isn't just words on paper. This is your contract with destiny. Every time you look at that paper, you'll remember the moment you decided to stop being a victim of your circumstances and start being the architect of your transformation. The voice in your head that says, "I'll start Monday," or "after this project," or "when things calm down," is the same voice that has been negotiating your dreams away for years. That voice is not wisdom, it's weakness disguised as reason. Strong people don't wait for perfect timing. They create perfect timing through decisive action. Here's what happens when you commit today. Tonight, you'll sleep differently, knowing you finally stopped running from your potential. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up with purpose instead of dread. Next week, you'll notice your confidence growing because you're keeping promises to yourself. Next month, people will start asking what's different about you. Next year, you'll look back at this moment as the turning point when everything changed. But here's what happens if you wait. Tonight, you'll go to bed with the same familiar disappointment in yourself. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up with the same old thoughts and the same old energy. Next week, you'll still be planning to start soon. Next month, you'll have new excuses for why you haven't begun. Next year, you'll be in exactly the same place, wondering where the time went. The mathematical reality is brutal. If you don't change your trajectory today, you'll arrive exactly where you're headed. And if you're not thrilled about where you're headed, then today is the last day you can afford to live like the person who created that trajectory. Your transformation begins with one simple decision. Will you implement the first step of the R.E.B.I.R.T.H method tonight before you sleep? Will you perform the symbolic death ritual and burn the list of everything holding you back? This is not a small decision. This is the decision that splits your life into before and after. Don't negotiate with yourself about this. Don't tell yourself you'll think about it. Don't promise you'll start tomorrow. The person you're meant to become is waiting for you to stop talking and start moving. Every day you delay is a day that person remains trapped inside you, suffocating under the weight of your indecision. The moment of decision is now, not in an hour when you've finished everything else, not tomorrow when you feel more prepared, not next week when your schedule clears up. Right now, as you hear these words, is when your transformation begins or dies. Imagine yourself 90 days from now. You wake up without an alarm because your body has naturally adjusted to the rhythm of a disciplined life. You look in the mirror and see eyes that have regained their fire. Your posture reflects inner strength that needs no announcement. Your voice carries the authority of someone who has conquered their inner chaos. You walk into rooms with presence that commands attention without demanding it. People notice something different about you, but they can't quite name what it is. You speak with the confidence of someone who trusts their own judgment because you've trained yourself to make decisions and follow through. You face challenges without the old fear because you've learned to move through discomfort rather than around it. You are no longer the person who is reading these words. You are who that person was meant to become. Your body reflects discipline through every movement. Your mind operates with clarity because you've eliminated the mental noise that once clouded your thinking. Your days flow with purpose because you've designed systems that automatically guide you toward what matters most. The transformation isn't just internal. Your external world has reorganized itself around your new identity. People treat you differently because you carry yourself differently. Opportunities appear because you're the type of person who recognizes and acts on them. Success feels natural because you've become the type of person for whom success is inevitable. This vision isn't fantasy, it's inevitable if you apply what I've revealed. The principles I've shared aren't theory. They're spiritual laws that govern all transformation. Every successful person throughout history has used these methods, whether consciously or unconsciously. Now you have the conscious blueprint that took me 25 years to discover. John D. Rockefeller once told me in his private office, the difference between those who dream and those who achieve isn't the size of their vision. It's their willingness to pay the daily price that vision demands. The price of your transformation is daily discipline. The reward is a life beyond what you currently believe possible. This is your moment. Not tomorrow when you feel more ready. Not next week when you have more time. Not next month when circumstances improve. Right now, as you hear these words, is when your transformation begins or dies. The decision is yours, but choose quickly, because every moment of hesitation is a vote for the old self you're trying to leave behind. If this message has reached something deep inside you, if you feel that spark of recognition that says, this is what I've been waiting for, then take action immediately. Write down your commitment to the 30-day R.E.B.I.R.T.H method challenge and perform the symbolic death ritual tonight. Don't wait. Don't think about it. Don't negotiate with yourself. Do it now while the fire of decision is still burning in your chest. Subscribe and ring the notification bell because you'll want to return to these principles again and again. Share this with someone who needs to hear it, because true success is always shared and you'll need allies on this journey. Comment below and publicly commit to your transformation, because public commitment creates accountability that private promises cannot match. Remember this, you didn't change because of some grand event. You changed through small behaviors repeated with extraordinary consistency. The steel magnates I studied didn't transform overnight. They transformed through daily discipline applied with unwavering commitment. The person who can master themselves is a person who can master their fate. And when you control what's happening inside, you no longer fear what happens outside. Your new life is not a distant dream waiting for perfect conditions. It's a daily choice to live as the person you're becoming, rather than the person you used to be. Every morning declaration, every symbolic action, every hard choice over easy comfort is building the foundation of your transformation, and that foundation, once established, becomes unshakable. The world will test your commitment. Old friends will try to pull you back to familiar patterns. Your own mind will whisper seductive excuses about why you should return to comfort. But you'll remember this moment when you decided that your future was more important than your fear. You'll remember the feeling of finally stopping the negotiation with mediocrity and starting the journey toward mastery. 6 months from now, when people ask you how you changed so dramatically, you'll smile and tell them the truth. I stopped waiting for the perfect moment and started creating it through daily discipline. You'll tell them about the night you burned your list of limiting beliefs. You'll tell them about the morning declarations that reprogrammed your identity. You'll tell them about the R.E.B.I.R.T.H method that gave you back control of your life. But most importantly, you'll tell them this: the person who can decide their identity through daily actions is the person who can decide their destiny. And you'll mean it, because you'll be living proof that transformation isn't a miracle, it's a method. It's not magic, it's mathematics. Small actions, repeated consistently, compound into extraordinary results. The choice is yours. The method is proven. The time is now. Will you remain the person you've always been, or will you become the person you've always known you could be? The decision is yours. But remember, in the end, you won't regret the risks you took for your transformation. You'll only regret the chances you didn't take to become who you were meant to be.